Welcome to the Build Your Private Practice podcast, a space for Canadian therapists who want to support others, make an impact, and build a sustainable practice that works for them too. I'm your host, Liane Wood, a registered psychotherapist, group practice owner, and business mentor, and I'm here to help you build a private practice that allows you to keep doing the work you love without burning out. Because the people who need your help the most are counting on you, and you deserve a practice that supports you while you support them. Let's dive in. Well, welcome back to the Build Your Private Practice podcast. I'm so glad you're here. If you've been wondering whether paid ads could help you fill your caseload, but the idea feels overwhelming, risky, or just a little off-brand, then this conversation is for you. Today's guest is Britt Holmes from Merit Media, an agency that helps therapists and mental health professionals ethically and effectively use paid advertising to grow their practices. We're digging into what makes ads work without feeling salesy, how to avoid the most common mistakes therapists make with marketing, and what it really takes to run ethical, sustainable ad campaigns that align with your values. Whether you're tired of relying solely on referrals or you're curious about expanding your reach online, this episode is packed with clarity, strategy, and actionable advice. Britt, welcome. I'm so happy to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and dive into these topics with you.
Amazing. Well, let's start with this. What drew you to this work of helping therapists with their marketing, and why do you think so many therapists struggle to trust ads as a tool?
For sure. So at the beginning of this year, every year I sit with my team and we try to figure out what we want to do and all that stuff. And at the beginning of this year, came to me and said, look, there's so much going on in the world right now. We just want to be able to make things a little bit better. And then it got into, well, why don't we start trying to work with more therapists? Because my entire team, interestingly enough, has ADHD and is big advocates of seeking out therapy for everything, essentially. So we kind of were like, okay, yeah, let's do it. So this year it was one of our biggest priorities was working with people that want to essentially make the world a better place. And that's kind of where we've been working. And what else? Sorry, do you mind repeating the last part of the question? One track mind.
No worries. Why it was why do you think so many therapists struggle to trust ads as a tool?
Yeah, so I think that the biggest feedback that we get when working with clients and doing sales calls is that a lot of therapists feel that it's kind of like dirty or like wrong because they're trying to help people. But then when you're working in marketing and doing ads, it kind of feels like you're
Mhm.
enforcing something upon them. So what we try to do is like what we're ultimately doing, and this is the biggest thing that you kind of need to think about, is that we're trying to connect with more people that are actively needing your support. So if you're not showing up from an advertising perspective or any kind of online media, you're basically doing a disservice to your potential community because they're not able to find you. And being able to be findable online now is so important. And it also is a really easy lift for a lot of therapists to just start doing some advertising. It doesn't have to be high cost, but it does help you to connect with highly qualified leads because we're able to do such a great job in targeting and really connecting you with the people that are actively seeking you, that are warm leads, that need your help. And that's kind of the main pieces of insight there.
Amazing, amazing. I love what you're talking about, just with that struggle or feeling uncomfortable. I think that's a really big piece, right? Therapists feeling like, I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to, be marketing and yeah, just so I think you've answered that lovely, so well. So what do you think are some of the biggest mistakes that you see therapists making when they're trying to fill their caseload with ads?
So I think one of the biggest things, and this is not, this is specific to everybody, is that when people start doing advertising, they think, oh, well, I'll have more impact if I'm everywhere. So what
Mm,
they'll do is they'll start running a campaign, and even though they're, located, so most therapists, you can only be in like Ontario and Alberta or wherever, like there's certain practice areas, right? But
mhm,
instead of sticking to the core regions that they already are supporting people in and basically growing based on like, our people are all in the GTA, so I'm going to start here, capture learnings and expand. A lot
mhm.
of times, and this also doesn't help when the vendors like Google and Facebook are like, just target everyone because they want
Yeah,
more money from you. The
right.
reality is to run a smart campaign is to start small. So
Mhm,
the main thing is like if you have lots of people that are in the GTA, for example, target the GTA first and capture the wins there and the learnings and kind of expand it out in a way that makes sense, that is
mhm,
based on return and where you're seeing success come, and stack those wins. Oftentimes people are like, I'll just target all of Canada, which again, for therapists is a big mistake because you can't support everybody, and like most people can't do that. But, if you set it up wrong, that's happening. Or
mhm,
the other thing is like even targeting all of Ontario, like think about the population. And then all
mhm.
of a sudden, and it's like, okay, you have $500 a month, divide that by 30 days and
Right.
then divide that by the population. Like you're really not going to be meeting anybody where they're at. So by
Mhm,
being focused in like, essentially what you want to do is talk to one person. And oftentimes we get caught up on like, well, I can be everything for everyone. You can, but we need to
mhm,
get our feet in the door and kind of grow into being that. So starting small is a huge thing that I think a lot of people miss. And
mhm,
so start small and expand, and yeah, and then have it when that expansion comes, the budget has to also increase, right? So,
mhm.
but oftentimes people forget that, if you divide $500 divided by 30 days, divided by 2 million people, your impact's not going to be there. So it's kind of a numbers game at that point.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And just because, my brain doesn't do math really well, I'm gonna take it to $600 a month, right? To like
Yeah.
break it down, right? 600 divided by 30 days is $20 a day. I can't do
Mhm.
the math on 500. Sorry, Brett.
That's fair. That's totally fair. And then if you
So,
think about it, like depending,
yeah,
take it one step further. So if you're
yeah,
looking at $20 a day with a $600 monthly budget,
yeah,
if you're advertising on Facebook, an average click could be $5.
right.
So you're
So you
getting
get four
four
clicks.
clicks a day.
Mhm,
Okay. So we don't need to target all of a province. Or
right,
if you're on Google, it's a little bit cheaper, but still like you're looking at 10, 15 clicks a day. So
right.
we have to be
Mhm.
very smart about our investment, and that's how you get the impact.
Yeah, and I love that idea of really starting small to figure out what works before you start expanding your budget. And I,
Exactly. And I think that a lot of people miss that. It's like the thing
mhm,
is like as a small business owner, any investment can be scary. And
mhm,
being smart about it is like, why would we go all in? And like, even like people expect me as an advertiser to come to you and say, like, yeah, just give me like 3 grand. It's like, no,
right,
no, no. I want you to feel comfortable with your investment and prove that it works
right.
before we
Mhm,
expand, to take
mhm.
that fear out of it so that you always feel good about making that investment.
Amazing, amazing. What mindset shift has helped you or your clients move from stuck to sustainable with their marketing?
So I think the biggest thing is that especially in the therapy space, there's a lot of almost like predatorial advertising agencies that
Mm,
will come after, and they kind of understand that like most therapists are like, listen, I just want to be a therapist. I don't really want to be the business side of things, and I know that that's what you guys work to kind of bridge that gap. But when
mm,
people that are in advertising understand that like maybe their target doesn't necessarily know what they're doing, they can
mhm.
take advantage. And this is kind of in every industry, but that's
Yeah.
one of the biggest things. And I know that there's so many people, not even just specific to therapists, that have been burned by agencies where
Mhm,
they'll come in and they um talk to you like, they use all these acronyms and make it really confusing. And you're like, yeah, yeah, sure, I don't know. Like you're obviously a genius because you're using all these fancy words.
yeah.
And the reality, and this is after, like, with me being in the industry for 13 years, the people that speak in acronyms the most know the
Yeah.
least.
Oh.
And what they don't actually know a lot of the inner workings of it. So one of the biggest mindset shifts that I think it is convincing therapists that ads aren't all bad, and you're not going to be taken advantage of if you work with like the right people, or even like take the right course if you choose to DIY it, type of thing. But ads are effective. I have over a dozen clients that are therapists, and they're bringing in like full caseloads. They're adding more practitioners to their practice, scaling from solo to multi practitioner. Like, and
Hmm.
this is all while making a profit.
Hmm.
So, and that's kind of the only way we tell our clients to increase investment, is that either one, they want to add more service support, like different services, or
Yeah.
if they're doing so well and we're like, hey, you can keep doing well. And at that point,
Mhm.
everyone's like, yes, just take my money because it's working. Like I have a full caseload. I'm happy. This is easy. I don't have to rely on like Psychology Today or, word of mouth, because they just have a consistently full caseload, which is kind of the ideal dream here.
Yeah, I think that's the ideal dream for everybody.
Yeah,
And, I think too, when we're thinking about mindset shift, going back to what we were talking about a moment ago, when we're thinking about the almost the aversion that therapists have to the word marketing, and talking about, when you start getting into kind of looking at the metrics of your marketing campaign and like looking at clicks and, different things like that. But, if we can shift that idea of clicks to connections, this is how many people I'm connecting with. If they're clicking on my ad, I'm making a connection with them. They're feeling aligned with what they're seeing, right? And so
exactly.
these are the people that I want to be, finding and having them find my practice, right? Mm.
Definitely.
Yeah. Can you maybe share a real example of a transformation that you've seen when a therapist started using ads ethically and effectively?
For sure. Yeah. So all of our ads, we make sure that they're all ethical, that they're not like overly salesy, that they're well aligned with your brand tone, your mission, and all of that stuff. One of our recent clients, actually, I tell this one because I kind of like alluded to it already, but I'm really excited about this one. This is a therapist that came into me and she said, hey, look, Britt, I am really looking to expand into a group practice. And
Mhm,
I think I'm finally ready to take the step of doing ads. I'm like,
mhm,
okay, cool. So we start running ads for this person. And within like the first month, she's like, I'm full. I need to
mhm,
expand.
mhm,
I need more people. I have another person starting in 2 weeks. This is perfect timing because I'm stacked, kind of
mhm,
thing. And it was like, it's just so exciting coming in at that phase of somebody's business, because it's like they're like, I don't really know if this is gonna work. Like I'm like dipping my toe in and I'm like nervous, but like I really want this to happen. And with that one particular client, like now we're like consistently seeing leads come in, and it's such
mhm.
a great feeling because she's kind of living her dream of having a group practice. And
Yeah.
we're just like sitting along in the ride, watching it all play out and watching her kind of live her dream, and to be able to help more and more people. Because had she not chose to do that, it might have been a slower growth period for her, and
Mhm.
more people are left unsupported. So like it's kind of a double benefit that I'm seeing, because it's like we see her growing individually, but we also like from increasing that caseload, another therapist is in business, which is sometimes tricky to get in, and especially right out of school. And then also people are getting more help that they need. So I'm really
Yeah.
happy about that one.
What do you think that therapist did differently that really made the difference? Because lots of therapists run paid ads. So, when you talk about, having a caseload filled really quickly and then bringing on, others, like what do you think was different about what they were doing?
For sure. So I think some of the key components when you're running ads is making sure that your website is efficient. So making sure that it loads quickly. And now I'm going to get a little bit nerdy here.
Hmm.
But making sure that your website loads quickly, that the content on your site really truly speaks to the people that you want to serve,
Hmm.
that she had individual service pages for each of her different service types. So like EMDR and that type of thing. It
Yeah.
allows us to be more specific when driving ads. So instead of just targeting like therapy as a keyword, we're driving like EMDR therapy and that type of thing. So we're driving right in. So
Hmm.
when her prospects are seeing her ad, they're looking for her specific service. Then they're going to a specific landing page. And then at that point, they're able to book right away.
Right, right.
So another big thing that's super helpful is that she is using the Jane app. And on the Jane app, there's the different levels of different support. So I believe it's the mid-level one that allows us to track post-click. So what we're able to do is, instead of just driving up until like that book now button and being like, well, we sent someone there, hopefully they booked, right? But we don't know, is that she has that post-click. So we actually know that she's got confirmed bookings, which
Oh, amazing.
not everybody has that Jane app. And I know that the older ones don't have it, that were like grandfathered into plans, but there's the new level, and there's 3. And as a sneaky tip is, if you reach out to them on chat, they're very helpful with costing.
Absolutely, they are, and it's actually that's included on the plans, right? So it is a newer feature. So you literally just have to go into your like when you're in JNet, you go into your settings, you scroll down, you find it, and you literally click the button to turn it on. So it's you don't have to really change your plan on what you are, as long as you're. I think it's there's like a sort of an entry level one if you're a part-time practitioner, but if you're not on that tier, then if you're in one of the other tiers, then it's already there for you. You literally just have to turn it on. And
Yeah.
I think what you just said, Britt, was so important as you were talking about specific landing pages. I'm thinking about, like, I love shoes, just, a little bit of me. But
Who
if
doesn't?
I know, right? But if I go onto Google and I search for, say women's sneakers, and I type women's sneakers into the search bar on Google, and I don't know, let's say Sport Check comes up. If I click on the link from Sport Check and it takes me to a page that is showing me hockey equipment, I'm gone.
Yeah.
And so the idea that you're talking about with the landing page is that, when I type in women's sneakers and then I click on Sport Check, it better take me to a page that is showing me women's sneakers, right? In the same way, if you're advertising for, whether it's EMDR or, whatever, you're advertising in your ads, when the person clicks on that link, that's what needs to be showing up on the page. I think that's what you're talking about when you're talking about the landing pages, yeah?
Exactly. Yes. So it's common that I see is that therapists are just like, I do everything. And it's like a single page with all of the different services, which
Mm-hmm.
is fine. But when you're running ads, you really want to be able to be like, A connects into B, instead of it
Right.
being like, here is everything. Because then what happens is, then now they're scrolling. So when
Yeah,
you come in
yeah.
with one intent, it's kind of the same thing as what you're saying. Like, they come in with the intent of like EMDR therapy, and you just go, well, here it all is, then it kind of creates that distrust. And they're like, oh, now I have to do more. Like, why would I click the ad if now I have to navigate through the whole page to get to my desired outcome? So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of what advertising is connecting hot people that are really looking to take action, and going like, you're searching, here's the ad, here's the information, book now. And it's
Right.
like a very quick process, as opposed to being like, because ultimately they're going to book a consult with you anyways and decide whether or not they like you. Is most
Mm-hmm.
cases, that's generally the first interaction. And
Right.
that's kind of what they want. Like, they're like, even if they go and then they're like reading your about page, this, that, and the other, like ultimately that's the end goal, is they want to be talking to you and figuring out if your personality and your approach aligns with who they are. So basically we're helping them get like rocketed through to their end goal like as quick as possible, which is very common in our day and age. Like, attention spans are so small now
Yep.
that it's like, let's just get them where they need to be.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing, amazing. So, Britt, for a therapist who's listening today, who's curious but maybe nervous, what is one practical first step you would say that they could take to explore ads without feeling overwhelmed?
So, first of all, what I will say, and this is like my disclaimer, is stop boosting posts on Meta or Instagram or Facebook, because it's a
Hmm,
really big money leak. So, if
okay.
that's something that you are doing, my biggest recommendation would be stop doing that, save your money, and then do an actual ad campaign. Whether you
Mhm,
choose to have somebody set it up for you or you explore doing it yourself, that would be probably my biggest first step, is like, stop doing that. the next step would be basically just having a really big think. I think that a lot of times therapists can get like, they're like, oh, I want to do so many things. I have all these different qualifications. But what we want to do is like, instead of starting an ad campaign and being like, I'm going to be all of the things that I'm capable of within my ad campaign, is choose a service that is the one that either you enjoy the most, you need to increase your bookings for, your caseload for, or it's, whatever it is, choose whichever one is most beneficial to you and focus on that one piece first. Instead of being like, I'm going to support all of my 10 services, choose one, choose a meaning for why you want to support it, focus on that one, get your learnings about how people are engaging with your site, how the performance is coming through, and then expand from there. You don't need to be all things all the time. So start small, very small, because then it's less scary. You're like, I'm just doing a little test. But like we talked about with the budgeting part, is like, the smaller we start, the more impact we're going to have, and then get those learnings in quicker. So I would say stop boosting posts is the number one, save your money, and then get into step 2, which is supporting just one of your service sets first that needs the most love, and kind of expand from there.
Amazing. Amazing. Britt, thank you so much for being here today and breaking this down in such a clear and grounded way. I know that this conversation is going to help a lot of listeners feel more empowered and less intimidated about using ads in their practice. You've really shown us that ethical advertising is possible and that with the right foundation, paid ads can be a powerful part of a sustainable private practice. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Amazing. Well, we're going to have links in the show notes below here so that listeners can connect with you and explore more of what Merit Media offers. And if you've been wondering if ads are right for you, this just might be your sign to take the next step. You don't have to do it alone, and you don't have to figure it all out at once. So thanks so much for listening. And until next time, keep building a practice that supports your life too. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Build Your Private Practice podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love it if you'd subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a fellow Canadian therapist who needs this. And remember, the work you do matters. Keep showing up, keep holding space, and keep building a practice that works for you. If you're looking for practical tools or support to grow your practice with more clarity and confidence, head to buildyourprivatepractice.ca. There's lots waiting for you there. I'll see you next time.